Hi, and welcome to part 3 of the 10-part series on quantum training for supported living DSPs. This is actually just a continuation of commandment number 2. This is kind of just going to show you more information on staff codes versus client codes. Commandment number 3 just basically says that only staff codes can be shown on the staff grid, which again is the top half of the map, with no corresponding entries found directly below it on the staff grid, or on client grid, excuse me. Otherwise, and my subnote says, otherwise we're paying you for no client documentation, or we're billing clients with no corresponding staff members. Both of those are big red flags. So if we're paying you residential services, but you don't show any clients receiving those services, the question becomes, why are we paying you? And by the same token, if you're showing on your map that a client is receiving, again, residential services, but it's not shown on your grid, okay, who is providing it because it's not showing up on your time card. So let's kind of see exactly what's going on here. Going back to the map that we've been kind of working on the past 2 videos, this is a nice looking map because again from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. I have ResHab showing. Again, ResHab shows that, again, this is on the top half of the grid. I'm being paid 1 hour for ResHab services. Now, if I look directly down from those times, I see that these clients, are receiving services. So I'm being paid 1 hour of residential services because someone's receiving services. Now, if I come over here from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m., I had to leave because I was sick. Now, if I look straight down from there, I show nothing down here, which is good because, again, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. was sick time. Sick time is a staff code. Staff codes can have nothing underneath them in the client section. However, the opposite is not true. So the situation I said earlier was, again, let's say from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. I took a personal day. And again, obviously your shifts aren't going to be an hour, but let's say you took a personal day, and I put personal time down here on the client grid. Again, personal is a staff code, and I'm going to be entering it on the client grid. So this is what happens. And let's say you just walked away and this was it. This is not right at all because you're supposed to be paid personal time, not the clients. Well, we can't bill for personal time on clients. That makes absolutely no sense. And then the Medicaid office is probably going to call my desk asking, what is this? So this is wrong in both parts. So not only would you not get paid because you don't have personal time on your half of the grid, but you have a staff code on the client portion of the grid, which is a no-no. So honestly, at this point, this would just be deleted, and that would be the end of it. So ideally, again, if you take personal time or, again, sick, vacation, whatever, it gets put on your grid and you do nothing on the client grid or the client portion of the grid because, again, if you have a staff code, if you're using a staff code, then you are not doing anything with the client. So we can't pay you for providing services when you're using a staff code. Again, so staff codes are, again, like vacation, personal time, sick time, shadowing. I think training was one of them. But you might be saying, but Trey, wait a minute. If I'm shadowing, then I'm with the client, so shouldn't I put that on there? Actually, no. And that's actually going to be the topic of the next commandment. But let's say I'm a new hire, and I'm going to keep going over here. So let's say from noon to 1 p.m., I'm shadowing Billy Bob. So Billy Bob's my home leader. He's showing me the ropes. I go into 5301. The clients are in the house. I'm learning their names, everything about them. Billy Bob is mentoring me and showing me everything. But then it comes time to put down my quantum. Well, I obviously want to be paid because I spent an hour learning everything, and technically I'm on the clock. So you might be thinking in your head, well, don't I just use ResHab? Well, probably not, because Billy Bob's probably using ResHab. And again, that's going to be the topic of the next video. But if you're technically shadowing, that is a staff code. So I'm going to put shadowing. So even though I was technically with the clients, I'm not going to put anything down because whoever was training me, they're the ones that the responsibility falls on, that they're going to have to show that they were providing services, not you. So again, if you're a new hire and if you're on your shadow schedule, just make sure the person who's training you is using ResHab. They should be, but sometimes questions have to be asked just to make sure. So if you're the new hire and you're coming in and you're shadowing, even though you're technically with the staff, or I'm sorry, with the client, excuse me, use shadow time, because again, not only will you get paid, but we're not going to be doubling up on billing for a client. And again, that's going to be a topic on the next video. But again, commandment number 3 just really says, hey, I can look up on your grid here, look up on the client or staff grid, excuse me, and see nothing below it if I'm using a staff code. In this case, shadowing is a staff code. I can look directly down. If I see blanks, that looks good. Same with personal time. If I put personal time down, I look directly down from there on the client's portion. I don't see anything. That looks good to me. And same with sick time. Again, that's a staff code. If I look straight down, there's nothing here. That's perfect. But what happens if I have something on my grid that's not a staff code? Now, just by principle of duality, as you can see, some of these have the word staff behind it. So guess what? The words that do not have staff behind it are client codes. So let's say I have put in ResHab. Well, we have a problem here. ResHab, which means, again, that clients were in the house, does not have the word staff behind it. So it's not exclusively a staff code. So if I look here, if I see ResHab, or again, any of these other ones that don't have the word staff behind it, I should be able to look down and see something. Well, we have a problem here. From 5 a.m. to 6 a.m., I'm being paid for residential services. However, nobody received them. That makes no sense. So you can't get paid for residential services if no one received them. And that'll be again, that's going to be the topic for the next video. Excuse me. But again, the biggest thing to look out for is, hey, if you have anything up here that shows on your portion of the map, excuse me, that has the word staff. Oops. Getting ahead of myself. And again, it's these ampersands you want to look for. So if I see an ampersand up here, up on my grid, the and symbol, I can go straight down, and if I don't see anything on the client grid, then I'm okay. However, if I see anything from the drop down, again, like ResHab or transportation, which again does not have the word staff behind it, if I look straight down, I have to see something in the client grid. If not, this has to be removed because we can't pay you for services you're providing when nobody's receiving them. And a good question has come up. As you can see from this section here, from 6 to 7 a.m. I'm being paid for residential services. From 7 to 8 I'm being paid for sick time. 9 to 10 for personal, and I think there was something else. Yeah, from 12 to 1 I'm being paid for shadow. You're getting paid the same rate for all of those. So I do want to mention that because I think there was a situation where someone came in where I had to change their ResHab because they were showing they were providing residential services, but not to anybody. So we changed it to, I think, a training code, which it should have been, and they were getting mad because they thought that means they were being paid less. No, pretty much everything that's filled up here, you get paid your wage, regardless if it says supportive living or sick or whatever. Or residential, excuse me, residential have, sick, or whatever. You're still going to get paid for it. But I just want to make that clear because, again, if you did truly come in at, let's say, 5 a.m., but no one was there, and you for some reason put residential, Excuse me. Um, so you're showing from 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. Hey, I got residential time here, but no one received the services. I'm sorry, but we have to take this off because we can't pay you for residential services if no one was there. However, if it was truly like a training time, then we're okay because again, this is a staff code, and staff codes can have nothing underneath it. So just be cautious when you're entering in information on your maps. Just making sure that ideally everything that has something up here will have something down here, um, in the exception of staff codes. So again, training, shadowing, sick, personal, vacation, any of that, that can show up here on your payroll, again, the top half of your grid, with nothing underneath it, and that's completely fine. However, if here's a situation. If I have from 6 to 7 a.m., I was providing residential services. From 6 to 7, another was there. However, wait a minute, what about Sam? Again, that's when you use, again, res have for if they were in the house or absent if they weren't. Again, simply leaving it blank doesn't tell me anything. So in this case, let's say Sam was gone for that 30 minutes for whatever reason. So now I know for this block of time that I'm being paid for residential services, I have these clients accounted for. One of them was there for the full hour, one was gone the first 30 minutes, and they came back the next 30 minutes. So that's takeaway number 3, and I'll see you for number 4.